Hello everyone, this is Dins and welcome to another video. I know it's been a hot minute since I last made one of these, I think about 11 months by now, but considering my upload schedule so far, I guess I'm nothing if not consistent, so you really can't judge me, I think. Also, speaking of consistency, yes, it's another D&D group picture. How many fucking campaigns are you in, Dins? I know. Listen, this one is different, okay? It's not just a party that I'm playing in, it's actually a party that I'm DMing for, which is a new experience for me. The Wandering Isle is my first homebrew campaign and I am so excited about it and very excited to gush more about the campaign itself. But I think first things first, I should probably tell you a little bit more about the picture itself. I don't really want this to be just another video where art is happening in the background and I'm talking about my hobbies the whole time. I do actually want to talk about the picture that I'm working on, just for anyone who I guess like my work or is interested in knowing more about my process. This one's for you, I guess. So first things first, it's a little different from the last video that I did where I was drawing my D&D parties, the last two videos actually. It's not really poster style. I also didn't really particularly draw this to commemorate something or as a gift. It was partially me just kind of nailing down some of the character designs that were still up in the air, doing kind of a height comparison between all the characters, because as you see there's quite a bit of height differences going on there. I also wanted all of the individual drawings to be usable as like a charm or a sticker in case I ever decide to do that, because I think it would be very cute to give a little physical gift to my players whenever we do hit that 1 year mark, and I guess this is me being very hopeful that we'll hit that, but I have full faith that we will. The composition, because of that, is a little bit more basic than for the last ones, but it also gave me the space, I guess, to do a bit more of a background this time, which I was very happy about, because this gave me a good chance to show you a little bit more about what the vibes of the campaign are like. It is a story about a group of pirates, like actual sea pirates, waking up in the middle of the desert with a big hole in their memories, so I figured the whole fish out of water vibe of the deck that they're standing on, contrasting with the dunes in the background, would be a nice visual, and make for some nice color combinations as well. You know, you can't underestimate teal and yellow that everyone loves so much. For the drawing itself, I decided to stick to line art again instead of the lineless style that I did in some of my first videos. I still really like lineless as a style. The result is just so crisp and pretty, but the amount of layers that you need to pull something like that off, at least the way that I did it, is a little bit overwhelming, and especially for drawings with this many characters, it just turns into such chaos. So I decided to go simple and sweet this time, just a line art layer and then coloring with multiply and some overpainting at the end, which in theory at least is a little bit easier for me to organize. I am realizing now that you can see my layer panel on the side there for the entirety of this video, so I guess this is probably gonna turn into an eating my words mukbang by the end of the video. Please ignore the chaos that does unfold. I promise it would only be worse if I was doing lineless style for all of it. I'm doing my best, okay? Don't judge me. The way I did the coloring in this video is a little bit different from the way I did it in the last video. Like I mentioned, I am using a multiply layer this time around instead of just hand-picking all of my shadows. Partially I did that just because they're all standing in an actual environment in this one instead of hovering around in the movie poster void. So I figured it would probably unify the colors a little bit if I did that, if I made sure all of their shadows were similar in color, similar in value. Another reason was because so many characters had some sort of gradient, be it in their clothing or in their hair, that I figured if I use a multiply layer it would be a little bit easier on me. It didn't end up actually saving me any time though, because I'm so used to having that control of picking your own colors that I ended up painting over much of the shadows anyway, as you'll see when I get to the coloring stage. But it did speed up the first part of the process, which is what matters, I guess. Another thing that was really different between this video and the last one is that I actually completely forgot that I was recording this to make a video out of it where I talk about all the characters, obviously. So I just went in step by step instead of doing it character by character, and then I had to video edit it so that the parts of the process are clumped character by character, because otherwise, you know, I would just be jumping around between them so often it would be very difficult to gush about them one at a time, which is what I want to do, damn it. I love my players so much. They're delightful, wonderful people. So yeah, that's why when you get to the actual part of the video where I am doing the colors, you'll see the neighbors of whichever character that I'm working on varying wildly in how finished they are. Just ignore that part and focus on what I'm doing. Next time I will not forget what I'm working on. For the actual background of the piece, like I mentioned before, I didn't record all of it. I actually forgot to press record a couple of times, so you'll kind of see that popping in as the picture goes along. I ended up just kind of inking the foreground, freehanding most of the perspective because so little of it is actually visible anyway, and then for the dunes in the background I just painted those in at the very end, which felt a little bit softer than inking them. I figured it would be very distracting to have a horizon line inked going like right in the middle of the picture, so that's why I did it that way. Now that I'm done talking about the drawing process, I can finally talk a little bit more about the actual content, the subject of the drawing, which is of course my wonderful players and their characters and the campaign that they're in, because it's the first time I'm ever running one of these. I had written and ran a couple of little mini modules and one-shots and stuff like that before, because I have been playing tabletop games for over a decade now, but I never really worked up the courage to DM. I was afraid that I would not be good enough at improv and stuff like that to manage it. I was a little scared, but my friends encouraged me to give it a try, and I kind of jumped into the deep end immediately, writing a little like mystery one-shot, and it was so much fun. It's exactly the kind of acting, writing, drawing, making characters, all of that package that I just love so much. So ever since I started this campaign a couple of months ago now, it's been an absolute thrill ride. I am so proud of how it's turning out, and the players that I ended up getting for this group are just so great. They're all such creative, talented people who come up with some amazing roleplay moments on the fly, and the characters that they made are also just so inspiring, so entertaining. So I can't wait to tell you more about all of them. But I should also mention that it's not just player characters in this drawing. As you can see, it's a very large group. I did also include 3 of their companion NPCs, which is NPCs that I made that specifically travel with them on their journey. The first of which, Aquil, all the way on the left, is the newest addition. He's only been freshly adopted about a session ago, and I'll tell you a bit more about him later. The other 2 are the ones at the very end. There are also 2 NPCs, only one of which is an actual like combat character. The other is more of she tags along to give the players kind of a reason to care about the regional conflict, and to have someone who can give them the down low on what's going on in this area, because they are strangers in a strange land here. But yeah. Like I mentioned before, the story of the campaign is about this group, which is actually the crew of a pirate ship known as the Young Kraken, or at least part of the crew. We don't really know yet what happened to the others, or at least my players don't know. It's about the group kind of waking up in the middle of the desert with a huge hole of about 1.5 years in their memories, and about their journey of following the only lead that they have about who might have done this to them, and kind of traveling across the world looking for him, exploring all of the major changes that have been occurring in the world, because some very bizarre supernatural events have been occurring. There's been some political shifts as well, and all kinds of fun stuff for them to uncover, and of course a whole bunch of not so fun stuff along the way. So far, just in like this first arc of the campaign, they've woken up on a prison convoy in the middle of the desert. They've been attacked by fire elementals, demons, bandits. They accidentally freed a serial murderer who got to the city before they did while they were trekking through Sandstorm on their way to safety. They have been roped into a murder mystery because of this. They found a baby Merid imprisoned in the water basins below this desert city, who turns out to be a vital part of their economy. So there's moral choices, there's inner party conflict because one of the party members got a crush on the serial murderer and another got a crush on the bandit that he had to kill. It's been such clownery. I love it so much. I can't believe D&D is free entertainment. I should probably start talking about the actual characters in the piece, and first up for that on the docket is Aquil, the baby Merit that I mentioned earlier. He's not just any baby, he's actually a prince, the son of the King of Storms in my campaign, and they found out quite recently that he may or may not be the nephew of Hallie, who is the Water Genasi party member that I'll be talking about later, which is certainly fun for her because she never knew her parents, so that's definitely going somewhere. He's also a bit of he's mostly kind of the center of a moral conundrum for now. His fate kind of remains to be seen, because he is very instrumental in the survival of this desert city that they found him in. So I'm certainly curious what they're gonna decide on. For now though, he's just kind of here to be adorable and sweet and look like a little troll doll, and I love him so much. Yeah, my little fish man. Next up is Eldrin, who is actually the first player character that I'm talking about. They're a half-elf divine soul sorcerer, and they recently found out that the sword that they've been carrying, which has been giving them visions and strange warlock powers and dark vision, may or may not be cursed / evil, which has been very entertaining considering they're choosing to bottle up all of it. They also went through a bit of tragedy recently because they developed a very sad crush on an older bandit captain, female bandit captain, because she had an appealing accent. But of course, the moment that they captured her and handed her in, her superiors decided that she probably should be silenced before any bean spillage can occur, and she was, dealt with, which was very sad for him, even more so because the person who actually did the deed is the crush of another party member, which has been, leading to some hilarious inter-party conflict. Eldrin, baby, you are such a soft boy. I feel so sorry for everything I've done to you. Please forgive me. Next up in the party is Ezra, and God, I love this design so much. They are played by and designed by, just like Eldrin actually, designed by my friend Ecchima, who is also on YouTube and on other socials, so I've linked that in the description. Please check them out, they're so good. Ezra is the badass shifter ranger of the group. After the aforementioned trek through the desert, they've kind of inadvertently made a connection to the sand, which has joined them in the form of a swarm, which also takes the shape of a snake that they've affectionately kind of adopted as a pet by now. Strangely enough, as far as pets go, it's not even the weirdest thing in the group, which is certainly telling. Ezra is one of the children of a very talented, very renowned fashion designer in this world, and even though they're very skilled in their own right, they kind of failed to meet the expectations of their mother, so they were kind of softly cast out to focus on the more mercantile aspect of running a fashion house, which is where they first ran afoul of some pirates and decided to jump ship and join the crew. So they're I think out of all the party members, they're the one who has been a pirate the longest, and they're also kind of the straight guy of the group. They are the person who tries to keep everyone from inadvertently harming themselves or harming others, which has caused them to be quite stressed out, despite trying to be cool and serious on the surface. Although part of that stress is also probably because I may or may not have revealed that their family is currently wanted for treason. So yeah, I'm not very nice to my players, I'm starting to realize. Up next in the party we have Sturmzeit, or Storm, who is the ballet dancer of the party. It's a homebrew class actually, and also a homebrew race that I made, known as the Polecat, so I'm very glad that one of my players decided to pick one. They're kind of my answer to there not really being a tall race that's dexterity based instead of strength based in the circle of vanilla races, by which I mean elves, dwarves, halflings, that sort of thing. The ones that are close enough, like Goliaths and Furbolgs and stuff, were all huge, and I wanted something that's a little bit more life than that. So the Polecat was my answer, and it fits him perfectly because Storm is a ballerina, a principal dancer who is the grandson of a very renowned dancer as well, kind of sensing a theme here. His grandfather was the one who invented kind of the fantasy equivalent of Swan Lake, meaning he has some very big shoes to fill. Storm is currently kind of on a journey to discover himself and to maybe gain some new insights as he enters the kind of final peak years of his career as a dancer. And in that time he has certainly learned a lot, although maybe not what he was setting out to learn when he fell in with a group of pirates. He is a very level-headed character. He has a very noble background as well, as in he used to perform at court, so he has very refined tastes, but he also has kind of a surprising savage streak that comes out in some very funny moments, such as in a recent session where he drop-kicked through a man's chest from many feet up in the air, which was a bit gruesome, but very, very badass. Next up we have Sweet Hallie, who is the water genasi druid that I mentioned before when I was talking about Aquil. She is a Circle of Stars druid, which, especially at lower levels, is just such a powerful class. She does a bit of healing, she does disgusting amounts of damage in combat. She's a real powerhouse that we love very much, and it's all in the package of this cute, sweet little girl that I am very fond of. She is also one of the more musically inclined members of the group, although her instrument of choice is the bagpipes, which is probably a lot more fun to play out on the deck of a ship rather than indoors. So the group has this kind of rule set up that she's only allowed to play her bagpipes on Saturdays, which has resulted in them kind of counting down the days until the next bagpipe day every session that we play hilariously. She's also the in-game scribe, in-game meaning she actually keeps a journal, Hallie's compensive compendium of creatures, where she keeps track of everything that the party faces and fights. And it's actually updated after every session on our actual wiki page that we have for the campaign, which is amazing. It's kind of her motivation to travel from the northern seas where she grew up to the southern seas and write down everything that she meets and encounters along the way, which is just a great motivator for a seafarer to have. So yeah, Hallie is a lovely character with quite a few mysteries still to uncover in the sessions to come. Next up on the docket we have Filian Springcrest, aka Chaos. He is the glamour bard of the party, an Eladrin, and Prince of the Fey Court, allegedly, who is also kind of a smooth talker, a performer. He loves to wind people around his finger, he loves to be in the spotlight and get attention. Paired with that, I guess like many glamour bards, he's also a big fan of illusion, deception, manipulation, all of that. He loves shapeshifting into people to get stuff done, shapeshifting to hide his real identity as a performer, shapeshifting for other mischief reasons that I will elaborate on later. He also loves lying to everyone, some would say compulsively, which has been getting him in increasingly hot water, I would say, over the last couple of sessions. That even got pretty close to a full-on boil recently in the form of PvP inter-party conflict when he decided to free the murder that I talked about earlier that finished off Eldrin's crush by taking his shape and switching places with him without anyone knowing or approving of it, and then successfully lying to every single person in the campaign about it, which was so out of left field and so hilarious, and thus began, I would say, probably the most bizarre and hilarious ship in the campaign. Yeah, death threats are their love language, but it is true and real, and I ship it. At the end of the day, I think Fillion is very much the actions have consequences kind of character, which makes him veer just enough into the realm of the pathetic to make him very compelling. Despite all of the lies and the shenanigans that he likes to pull, we love him anyway. Next up, and kind of finishing off the drawing, we have two NPCs, the first of which is Frey. She's a tiefling, as you can see. She's kind of the feral bounty hunter type that the party members encountered very early on in the campaign, as she was part of the same prison convoy as they were when they woke up without their memories. She used to be a city guard, but she got exiled after she was framed for looking into a certain guy a bit too much. But the party has since helped her tremendously, actually getting her citizenship and her place in the city guard restored by finding evidence acquitting her, which has been quite the journey. Which is probably also the only reason she let them live after finding out that her full name is not Frey but Luna Freya, and they have been teasing her with it relentlessly, which I guess is well deserved. She's very much the kind of gruff, no-nonsense type, but she also, you know, she's a salt of the earth kind of girl. She's a monk, but more so in the sense that she fights by biting people and clawing and kicking, rather than because she has any real monk techniques to speak of. She doesn't really need weapons when she's got claws and horns, is her kind of mindset, and I love her. Yeah, I try not to pick favorites, but I think she's probably my favorite of all the NPCs, I'll be real. Last but certainly not least, we have Enza, the sweet, supportive kind of mom character of the group. She is one of the NPCs as well. She's a refugee after her village was recently burned down by supernatural elemental creatures and later attacked and raided by bandits. Many of her people were kidnapped, so she's really going through it, but she joined the party as kind of part local guide, part needing their help. And she's very much been kind of an emotional backbone of sorts in the group. It's not uncommon for, after stressful situations, for party members to kind of ask if they can give her a hug, which she's certainly very good at. Although she also takes care of them in combat on occasion. At some point she jumped down into the fray in the middle of a very deadly combat, taking attacks of opportunity and all of that, even though she's not a combat character, but she did come through with that clutch medkit, bringing a party member that was rolling death saves back up, for which they were of course very grateful. And with that, I've told you a little bit about all the characters in the campaign, or the player characters and companions anyway. That's my group, that's my party. They're amazing, they're full of creative, flamboyant, wonderful, complicated characters that bounce against each other and off the world and off the NPCs, and it's been such a blast for my first ever campaign to be so compelling and to have so much creative energy going on. I am very glad that I got to draw this group picture of my crew, or my wet bandits as they're called, which is actually the in-game nickname of the group as well, after one of the bandits that they captured and interrogated rightfully pointed out that they're really just wet bandits at the end of the day, which I found very funny. It immediately became their nickname. Yeah, you hereby getting to know them a little bit better, and I hope you understand how much I love them. Expect to see more, honestly. I'm probably gonna be doing more of these. I'm probably gonna be making more pieces commemorating every leg of the journey, at least if I can find the energy to. So you definitely have more art to look forward to. And with that, we have reached the end of the video, so I would like to thank you guys so much for watching this one all the way through to the end, and I'll see you guys again in the next one, which, let's be real, is probably gonna be in 10 months from now. I'm doing my best, I'm trying, okay, please, God.